one of Maryland's newest senators, is playing a role in questioning Trump's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. U.S. Senator Alsobrook, while on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, grilled Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on previous statements he made that black people should not have the same vaccine schedule as white people.
We should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours. Can you please explain what you meant?
There's a series of studies, I think most of them by Poland, that show that to particular antigens that blacks have a much stronger reaction. There's differences in reaction to different products by different races.
So I have 17 seconds left. Let me just ask you then. So what different vaccine schedule would you say I should have received? What different vaccine schedule should I have received?
I mean, the Poland article suggests that blacks need fewer antigens than
this is so dangerous.
So you get the same measles vaccine.
Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, that is so dangerous. Your voice would be a voice that parents would listen to. That is so dangerous. I will be voting against your nomination because your views are dangerous to our state and to our country.
Let's give Mr. Kennedy the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that he just didn't know or does not know just how dangerous these statements are.
That is so dangerous.
You see, because sometimes when you have two separate cultures, some people can extrapolate the conditions of their cultures out to the entire world and assume that someone understands where they're coming from, but they don't. So, let's see if we can analyze this and break it down to say and show exactly what was problematic. Now, if I were to place myself in Mr. Kennedy's shoes, then I can see his side. And if I put all my emotions aside, even as a black man, I can see the reasoning behind why he said what he said.
We should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites.
But more importantly, I can understand the cause for concern raised by the senator.
Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, that is so dangerous.
See, now, while the study that RFK references, it might be valid. You know, it was a study that was done in Poland, that's what I'm gathering from it, which showed that black people needed fewer antigens. Now, if you don't know what an antigen is a marker that triggers your immune system to kick it into gear. And then your immune cells create antibodies to destroy the antigens. So basically what he's referencing is an article that says black people have the type of immune system that gets triggered with the slightest effort. So to give you a visual, it's like it says, as far as rations, black people only need a cup of water for their immune system, while white people need a whole gallon. And this is the reason for the vaccine schedule.
The Poland article suggests that blacks need fewer antigens.
Now that's great, but he's not realizing the problem with this way of thinking. And the problem with this way of thinking is dangerous when it comes to making decisions pertaining to the public.
That is so dangerous.
In the medical industry. Now think about it. Not only was this a Poland article, that's what I'm getting.
Poland.
But it also begs the question, what were they qualifying as black? Who were the black people that they were testing? You know, were they using continental Africans? Or were they using Fat Joe? Was it that spectrum? Because Fat Joe believes that he's black sometimes.
I thought I was black.
So from what I'm gathering, this study suggests that there is an immunodisposition that is inherent to blackness. Okay, so in the United States, black consists of a wide array of genetics and phenotypes. And some American blacks can even pass for white. but they choose to identify as black. So how does RFK imagine this panning out? How can you tell which black people need it and which ones don't? And who were the so-called black people in this study? Were these red bones, yellow bones, caramel, midnight black? What about biracial black? So let's say you have one black parent and one white parent, and this child is in the middle. I mean, whose immune system will they inherit? Does the black parent override the immune system genetics of the white parent? Does the biracial person have to identify as black in order to benefit from the so-called black immune system? What about Rachel Dolezal? Does she need less antigens because she started calling herself black? See, unless you plan on giving everyone a DNA test to isolate those with certain genetic markers, how else would you determine who gets what? Except by judging from the skin, or whatever box is selected on an application. See, this is the brown paper bag test all over again. See, this is what it is when you start calling, well, what would you say is black? That their DNA all of a sudden just makes their immune system better to the point where they don't need the necessary medical treatment that white people should get, or even the amount of medical resources. Because that's basically what a vaccine would be, or any sort of cure in that matter. I mean, how far does it go? Now, you know what else this reminds me of? It reminds me of the historical record within the American medical industry. See, there were white doctors that were somehow convinced that black people had a higher pain tolerance than white people. And this influenced the way that they prescribed pain medication. You see, but before that, this type of bias was also the reasoning as to why doctors like James Marion Sims would perform painful experiments on black women without using anesthesia. Because, hey, he figured, hey, they were slaves. Their life is hard. They can take it. So why not? You see, but I digress. And you could do your due diligence on this piece of the American historical record, or you can close your eyes and stuff your ears and choose to abide in ignorance. But the fact of the matter is that while the article may have reported their findings truthfully, there is something more sinister to the suggestion that RFK made, even though it may not have been his intention to be sinister. There are sentiments that are used to justify nefarious acts or neglect people based on race alone as a metric, especially when it's written down in medical literature or justified through so-called science. You see, now this isn't to be accusatory or label him as something that he may not be, because it's too easy to simply chalk everything up to racism and call it a day. But what I can say is that at the least, this is a statement rooted in ignorance that he made.
We should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites.
And it also reeks of an implicit bias that should not be regarded when determining what is good for the public and the health of the public. See, using an article in Poland to come back to the United States and tell all U.S. citizens that certain U.S. citizens require more medical resources and more medical attention, not based on health, not based on age, not based on gender, but by the mere virtue of whiteness, is the inception of a type of privilege that many of our countrymen are willfully oblivious to.